friends, it's Ren, and today I have a little book haul for you. And before you judge me, I mean, there's not that many books, but before you judge me, just know that this book haul takes place over a very wide amount of time. I mean, it's not good. Let's just get that out of the way. It's not good, but it's also not as bad as it would be if it was like one weekend. Okay, can we agree on that? We definitely have a variety in this book haul. Some of these I have pre-ordered, some of them I bought in person, some of them I'll explain as I go along. I don't know why I'm doing this huge preface to this video. I just felt like, talking, I guess. Isn't that why everyone has a YouTube channel? So I'm gonna kind of section these off by genre. I'm gonna start with YA, and we're gonna go from there. So the first YA book that I have is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I got this quite some time ago. I pre-ordered it like pretty much immediately after I read the synopsis. So this book is about a boy named Yadriel, who is a trans boy, and he is having trouble getting his family to accept him as a brujo, which is a male witch. And he decides that the best way to do this is to summon a spirit to help him solve a mystery, solve a murder, and he accidentally ends up summoning the spirit of a boy named Julian, who is just great. He's just such a breath of fresh air. So yeah, I really have a lot of feelings about this book. I'm not going to tell you all of them because that's what wrap-ups are for, but I mean, maybe buy it if you haven't already. Maybe. Next and last in YA, because I've really just not been reading any YA at all lately. I'm just kind of not into it anymore, with the exception of a few, and these are included in that, and that is Fence. I got volume 2, 3, and 4. I've had the first one on my shelf for probably over a year, but I didn't give it 5 stars or anything. I just thought that they were so fun. Just give them a read. Why not? They're really good. I enjoy them a lot. Next, we're gonna get into the horror, which I've really been getting into. I know I've probably mentioned it either once or twice. Maybe not at all. Maybe I cut it all out because I'm like, I can't keep going on about this. But I love the Magnus Archives, which is an audio drama podcast, and it's really gotten me more into horror, specifically gothic and cosmic horror. So yeah, I kind of leaned into that these past 2 months, which is why I have kind of a hefty stack. First, I have The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a story that is based in either native folklore or it is written about natives, and I just thought that that was a really compelling premise. I feel like there's a lot to do there in that space with horror, and so I was immediately compelled. I know it has to do with hunting, and they go hunting for something, and then it comes back up later in their lives, and I don't know. It just sounded intriguing to me, so I definitely am looking forward to reading this. I'm planning on reading it this month, and I'm planning on having a video about it, so look out for that. Next, I have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I have already read this. Spoiler alert again for wrap up, really enjoyed it. It is just it's a gothic horror tale about a girl who gets a strange letter from her cousin who just got married and moved away to live with her white British, I believe, man in Mexico, and it was just really good. I've seen a lot of people kind of rag on this and be like, well, I wasn't scared, so is it actually horror? Which just punches my soul out of my body because it really irritates me. Horror tends to be scary, sure, but it's not all about just being scared. Like, there are certain plot devices and settings and things that are in a horror story that make it a horror story. The mark of a horror story is not you just being scared. So anyway, this was really good. I recommend it. Next, I have a behemoth of a book, and that is House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. Danielewski? Sure. This book is something that I've wanted to read since I was in high school, but obviously it's extremely intimidating. Even just looking at it is intimidating, and that isn't even counting the things that people say about it. This is about a man who finds his neighbor dies, he goes into the house, and finds a whole bunch of stuff written about this film that is sort of like, I can't even describe this book. It's about a house that is bigger on the inside. I've seen it described as cosmic horror, and I've heard so many people say that it ruins their lives, that they couldn't stop thinking about it, that it made them so scared. I've already started reading it. It's a lot. It kind of gives me a headache. I was actually planning on reading it this month, but I think that this is one that I'm gonna need to read kind of slowly, a little bit at a time, praying that I like it. Next, I have I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This I will be reading for a video, which will hopefully come out before Halloween, but this, I have no idea what it's about. I think it's about someone bringing their girlfriend home for a holiday or something like that. I really don't know, and I just really don't like to read. That makes these haul videos questionable. I like to read the bare minimum about a book before I read it. Like, I want to know generally what it's about so that I know if it has sort of themes or a general plot that I would be vaguely interested in, but I try not to get too into it. But this book I have heard nothing but good things about. I've heard that it's very scary, which I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know if I'm ready for that, but I made this decision to buy it. You'll see how I feel when I put that video up. Probably not great, but we'll see. I'm not really sure if this next one counts as horror, but I'm gonna put it here because it sounds vaguely spooky to me, and it is Sin Eater by Megan Campisi, if I'm saying that wrong. What else is new? I apologize. This I kind of know a little bit more about. I know that this is about a world in which girls become sin eaters, so they eat the sin of people who died so they can get into heaven. I think that's what it is. Or so that they're freed of sin when they pass on to whatever this story believes in. I've seen this compared a lot to The Handmaid's Tale, but obviously it's a little more fantastical than The Handmaid's Tale, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this. I was super intrigued by the premise. I just thought it was very unique. Next, in sort of the horror thriller category, I have Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. I have heard so many mixed reactions to this that I am kind of dying to read it. I'd planned on reading it this month, but I think I have to push it back to November based on like my reading schedule, which, you know, is not a word that I ever thought I would say or a phrase that I ever thought I would say, but yeah, I'm very curious to see what my thoughts are based on the people who either thought that this was just the worst thing in the world or who gave it 5 stars. So it's gonna be interesting. All I know about this is that it's a dark academia type book, and it is written by a Black author, which, if you know anything about dark academia, that's kind of a rare thing. So I'm definitely looking forward to sinking my teeth in and seeing how I feel. The next book I have is, as far as I know, thriller-y maybe, and that is These Violent Delights by Micah Nemirever. This book, I mean, when you compare, when a book says in the dust jacket, The Secret History meets, or, you know, anything related to The Secret History, you know I'm gonna have to at least try. I'm gonna have to at least try. And I know, or I'm pretty sure that this book is queer, so it already has one up on The Secret History there. This is set in the 70s. It's about someone who meets a boy in their college classes, and they have a weird toxic relationship, which I love reading about toxic relationships. I don't know about you, but Hannibal is one of my favorite all-time shows, and what can I say? You know, I just love it when people suffer. Very intrigued to read this. I am praying that I love it as much, or even half as much as I love The Secret History. I just, they always have to get my hopes up with that, like, comparison, so we're gonna see if it actually follows through. Moving on to sci-fi and fantasy, first I have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is kind of an embarrassing purchase because I already bought this book. It just isn't here yet, and I couldn't wait. I got the Owl Crate exclusive edition, the whole box, but Owl Crate, there was something happening with it and it's not getting to me until the end of October, and I was like, I can't wait that long. So I did buy the copy at my local Barnes & Noble, and I mean, I have a reading vlog you guys can go see me be emotional. This is about a girl named Addie LaRue. She makes a deal with a devil figure, a trickster god, and ends up living forever or becoming immortal, but the only catch is that no one remembers her. So she has to figure out how to live life that way. And yeah, I can't... Go watch the vlog. Next, I have A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. It is a signed copy, which made me very happy. I wish I had a signed copy of the first one, but alas, life is long and full of disappointments, and I was late to the party on this series. I have not read this yet. It is on my list before the end of the year. I think I have it set to read in November, and I am very much looking forward to it. If you missed me reading the first one, I think I gave it 4 stars. That sounds right. I just thought it was a really enjoyable read, and for someone who doesn't, me, like sci-fi, pretty much at all, the fact that I really liked this book as much as I did was great. So for those of you who aren't familiar, the first book, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, is about a girl named April May who kind of stumbles into internet celebrity when she takes a picture or takes a video of this giant statue that just appears in New York. Turns out that they're all over the world, so she is the first person to document the existence of these things, which she, I believe, deems the Carls. And yeah, she gets plummeted into internet stardom and then world fame, and it's just a really interesting book about fame. Like, that's really what it's about. I'm really interested to see where this goes. I've heard really good things about it, that it improves on the first one, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. Let's move on to poetry. So I did get a lot of poetry books. I'm trying to get into it more. I've been doing this thing where I read 1 poem every day. I am making an effort to do so, and it honestly is become one of my favorite daily habits. It's just really enjoyable. But the first poetry collection that I started with was Seamus Heaney. This is 100 Poems by Seamus Heaney. I just finished it, actually. Seamus Heaney is an Irish poet, and he is great. I really like the way that he writes. He's not my favorite poet by any means, but I think that when he hits for me, he really just goes all out. So I would highly recommend this collection in particular if you're looking to get into him, because I feel like it is a really good collection of what he has to offer and sort of the scope of his work. So yeah, pick it up if you like. Next, I have The Essential Ginsberg. This is obviously an Allen Ginsberg poetry collection. I am very much looking forward to cracking into this. I have been wanting to read more of Ginsberg and just queer poets in general, especially in the Beat generation, so looking forward to cracking into this. Speaking of queer poets, probably the most Tumblr famous of queer poets, I have Crush by Richard Seiken. I have read so much of his work just in quotes, so I am very much looking forward to reading through an actual poetry collection of his. His word choices and the way that he writes just has a way of killing me, and so many others if Tumblr is to be believed. So yeah, I am definitely looking forward to this one, but also kind of not, because I feel like my soul is going to be ruined forever. And finally, for poetry, I have Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson. I'm getting this purely on the recommendation of Emma from Emmy. That's literally it. Like, this is the only reason that I have it. I also, like, Anne Carson is kind of famous among, like, dark academia gays. So that's also part of it, but it's pretty much just that Emma loves it, and I tend to like what she likes, so I'm looking forward to reading this as well. Finally, this is kind of like the miscellaneous section, kind of, I guess. First, I have the unabridged journals of Sylvia Plath. I feel like this is just a necessary read for me. I read The Bell Jar, and it kind of fucked me up, to be perfectly frank about it. So I just really want to continue my experience reading Sylvia Plath and kind of understanding more about her, and I think that this is a great way to do it. I mean, there's a reason that these journals are all, like, bound together. An important reading experience for a lot of English majors everywhere, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna be cracking into this, hopefully soon. Similarly, I have the annotated prison writings of Oscar Wilde. I just love Oscar Wilde. I feel like that's kind of a thing I'm pretty open about on this channel. I've talked about him a lot, so I am, again, looking forward to reading this, and I just really like the cover as well. I've read a lot of the things that he wrote in prison, just you know, in my studies and online and stuff. But I'm looking forward to just going through this whole book, and I think it will be especially helpful that it's annotated so that I won't have to make connections on my own. I love my hand being held. It's my favorite thing. So again, look, I'm saying this for every book, but looking forward to cracking into it. And last but most certainly not least, I have The Late Lord Byron by Doris Langley Moore. Oh boy. Oh boy, I'm so excited to read this biography. I know that I talk about Lord Byron a lot. I've read stuff of his, but I haven't read anything on BookTube of his, so the fact that I've talked about him, I think 3 times, kind of says a lot. He's just a wild dude. So I have picked up a lot of anecdotes about his life, just, again, from my studies, from liking the romantics, and just kind of playing in that space a little bit. But to have an actual biography it's gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to reading this. I know I said that a lot, but I said it in a different tone this time, so I just really can't wait. And I'm hoping, and I know I will, find out things that I didn't know before, because this man is just wild. He's just wild. I highly recommend even just reading a cursory Wikipedia page. It's just So those are all the books that I have bought in the last 2 or 3 months. I'm trying to kind of cut down on my book collection in general, and as for new releases, really only buying the ones that I'm super excited about. Otherwise, I kind of want to wait for them more often than I have been. I think that I've just been so consumed by the like BookTube consumerist need, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Like, if someone wants to buy a bunch of books and that's like their form of joy, please go off and do it. But I just think that I get frustrated with myself and I get unhappy more often than I get happy from these purchases. I can't say that about any of the books that I have here, because I actually am genuinely excited for all of these, but that's like kind of what I've been working on doing. So yeah, I'm not sure how many book hauls will be on my channel in the future. I just know that I had enough here to make a video. So I did. Well, I hope that you guys are having a good day and that you will continue to have a good day. I will see you next time. I have a very exciting video planned. I'm actually working on it right now, so I know that it's exciting because I'm living it. So I hope to see you guys there. I'm glad you're here with me now, and happy reading. Bye!